It was impossible to miss the debut of online sports betting in this state, with a deluge of ads coming from every direction, including billboards along I-93. But for the Mass State Lottery, it was more than just annoying, with officials worried the explosion of online gambling would cut into their sales, which were already on the decline. Lottery officials are exploring the possibility of taking their products online, and in the meantime, they're out with a new $50 instant scratch ticket, promising buyers $2, $25, and $1 million prizes. The debut led to record sales for the Mass State Lottery in March, but at what cost? As Les Bernal, head of the national organization Stop Predatory Gambling, told Commonwealth Magazine, the Mass State Lottery system has created an incredible money-losing gambling habit in hundreds of thousands of Massachusetts citizens, keeping people in poverty. Les joins me now, as does Rachel Volberg, a professor in the School of Public Health and Health Sciences at UMass Amherst. She also directs the Social and Economic Impacts of Gambling in Massachusetts study, an ongoing research project funded by the Massachusetts Gaming Commission. Welcome to both of you. Les, I just first want to start. I know a lot of people will say, listen, gambling is a choice. People have gambled since probably as soon as we were able to count numbers one way or another. What are the concerns that you have with the Mass State Lottery introducing some of these new products which are available in other places?
Sure. So a few quick points. First, that this is driven by not a grassroots movement. Citizens weren't demanding the opportunity to buy $50 scratch-off tickets in low-income communities. This is driven by greed of big gambling operators and a lust for political power by a handful of public officials. And just to put some numbers on this, Massachusetts citizens are currently losing more than $5,000 of their personal wealth every minute to, if you combine the losses to the state lottery and to the state's regional casinos, it's $5,000 every minute that the citizens are losing their personal wealth. And so in the big picture, you know, the reason why this matters so much, and so your viewers at home, like why this product is different than every other product or service in the country, including other vices like tobacco and alcohol and marijuana, is that there's an adversarial relationship between the gambling operator and the citizen. You know, this is a business that's based on conning people. It's a ripoff. It's a form of consumer financial fraud, just like price gouging and false advertising. And that's why this business is illegal unless you partner with the state. It's a big con.
Rachel, I want to take a look at some numbers that we have, and the most recent is from 2014, but I'm sure the numbers haven't improved any. Problem gambling prevalence in Massachusetts, according to this data from 2014 from Social and Economic Impacts of Gambling in Massachusetts, problem gambling gamblers 1.7%, at-risk gamblers 7.5%, and then the characteristics of the problem gamblers, male 77%, Black 24%, and unemployed 17%. You know, I think if we saw these groups being targeted by almost any other product and saw these problematic results, there would be concern. What do you hear from people when you talk about this data?
What do I hear from other researchers, or
from
what do I hear?
Lawmakers and people? I mean, again, it's not shocking, but at the same time, it is shocking. Is there ever an urge to say, well, maybe we should intervene and stop having state-sponsored gambling?
Well, I haven't heard anyone say that. As you know, we are in the midst of one of the most explosive expansions of legalized gambling that the United States has seen in many, many years. So you don't often hear about policymakers or anybody else really wanting to eliminate or reduce the number of gambling outlets. But we do know from the research that there are groups that are particularly vulnerable to developing gambling problems. We also know that there are, sort of actions that the state, in the form of the regulators, can take to sort of minimize and mitigate harm. And we're very fortunate in Massachusetts that we have a strong regulator of the casino industry, and many of the measures that were required in the legislation that permitted legal casinos in Massachusetts. Many of the measures that are built in have actually been implemented. So, maybe that's poor comfort for someone who's experiencing a gambling problem themselves, or who has a family member who's experiencing a gambling problem. But Massachusetts actually is in the forefront of addressing gambling problems. And I would add that the figures that you shared about the prevalence of problem gambling and at-risk gambling in Massachusetts are really pretty much the middle of the pack. That's what problem gambling prevalence looks like in many U.S. jurisdictions.
Les, the word predatory is important in this conversation. I should probably disclose that my grandmother, who passed away in, I think, 1968, was a bookie in Revere. So I grew up in between Suffolk Downs and Wonderland, and surrounded by people placing bets with my grandmother. I don't gamble. I'd rather open the window and throw money out into the street than actually spend any money gambling. How do you differentiate between someone who might occasionally want to go to the casino and maybe play the slots for a night and then go home, and then someone who is being marketed a product that would indeed be predatory, you would define as predatory behavior?
Sure. So just to put your grandmother's example, gambling used to be illegal. It used to be on the fringe of society, right? You had to seek it out. You had to go to the bar room to find it. Today, you have state government. Like what we're talking about here, this is a government program. So you have, whether it's online gambling, where the MGM logo is branded on the green monster at Fenway Park. You have a Massachusetts lottery that sells Frosty the Snowman scratch-off tickets during the holiday season, which is the contrast that with a Joe Camel ad from the early 1990s, which led every state attorney general to sue tobacco companies for luring young people to gamble. You have check cashing stores in Massachusetts in low-income communities that only thing else they do is sell lottery tickets. So commercialized gambling has become, its advertising and marketing has become the public voice of state government in Massachusetts and of government across our country. And so it's a con, it's a lie. So there's a huge classism to this issue. You have people with Ivy League degrees, Harvard MBAs, who are public officials, who are pushing $50 scratch-off tickets in low-income communities where, like, the rest of these public officials and all these middle-class, upper-class folks, they have pension funds, they have, retirement funds, they have 529 funds to pay their kids to go to college, they have emergency funds. Half the state doesn't have any of that stuff. And the citizens, this is their market as their best way to change their life. So that's what's wrong about this. If you care about other people, this is Exhibit A of what's broken about America today. If you think about why we have all these politicians who keep lying to the people, the public voice of American government today is a lie. It's a con, and it's the advertising of gambling and marketing to our country.
Rachel, one of the challenges, of course, is the marketing, right? And who gets marketed to, and who's responsive to it, and who may not be the best target in terms of their own mental health and their own addiction issues. What are some interventions or some strategies that you have seen that help at least put some barriers up to put the brakes on and some guardrails up in terms of the marketing of these products?
Well, there's quite a lot of attention that's being paid to the advertising of different forms of gambling, particularly as sports betting has rolled out across the country. And the challenge there is that, especially in the contemporary environment, these advertising efforts can be very, very carefully and very effectively targeted to individuals. So we've seen, not in the United States yet, although I won't be surprised if something like this emerges relatively soon, but we've seen in some other international jurisdictions, such as Australia and Great Britain, where regulators have essentially decreed that advertising of gambling advertising, particularly online operators, can't occur sort of, before the game, after the game, and during the game. So there's, there are tools that regulators can use to sort of curtail the advertising, but it really takes, as I'm sure Les would agree, it really takes a grassroots effort and a very strong regulator to be able to impose an advertising restriction of that kind.
Les, it's obviously unlikely that the clock's going to get turned back on the state being involved in gambling. I'm wondering, what would you be advocating for? What's the minimum that you would like to see state lawmakers do in order to curtail what you see as predatory behavior?
Stu, I couldn't disagree more strongly with your statement that it's inevitable that government-sanctioned gambling is going to be rolled back dramatically in our country today. When we talk about advertising restrictions, state lotteries are exempt from truth in advertising regulations on the Federal Trade Commission. That's the reality of this. So it's ironic we're in Massachusetts where, one of our core principles as a nation is, no taxation without representation. Today, we have a system with state lotteries and regional casinos, we have a system of taxation by exploitation. And it's time that principle of no taxation by exploitation be added amongst those other principles that we base our democracy on.
Well, I imagine that someone would say, the money that comes in from the state lottery, although as we're saying, has been not the numbers that they would want them to be, that revenue would need to be replaced somehow. And as we have seen in government, both state and federally, those sort of motivators don't necessarily help you to bring something back that's already been released. Wouldn't that be the challenge?
State government sponsorship of gambling, it's been an epic policy failure as a revenue source alone. Like the independent research consistently shows that state-sanctioned gambling is a budget gimmick. And that's why we've gone from $1 a week ticket, and now they're selling $50 scratch-off tickets in check cashing stores. Okay, it's a money loser. So have the people in Massachusetts seen their taxes go down since the introduction of a state lottery or regional casinos? The only people that profit in this business are the people that run the gambling games. And that's why they spend tens of millions of dollars lobbying for it. You, the taxpayer, you're paying higher taxes for less services today because of government-sanctioned gambling. It's been an epic policy failure, and it's time to roll it back.
Rachel, as we close out here, it's always been sort of hard to square. Churches have bingo. Government has lottery. Some casinos get to exist. Some racetracks get to exist. Is there a collective approach to trying making this less predatory or safer for those who would like to partake in a business way or in an entertainment or leisure way?
Well, I mean, there are certainly some best practices that have been identified over quite a number of years of research. I mean, I've been doing gambling research for quite a long time, and I think we know much more now about, what is effective in terms of gambling provision and how to do it sort of in a way that at least mitigates the harms. But in the United States, gambling is regulated at the state level. So there is no federal agency that's responsible for overseeing gambling in the states. It's all done at the state level. And, the ones that are first to market make mistakes, and then the ones that are second to market make fewer mistakes, and, sort of get to like the end of the road, and the last states that legalize sports betting are gonna understand some of the mistakes that others made.
We'll have to leave that there, Rachel Volberg. Thank you so much for your expertise, and Les Bernal, thank you so much for joining us. I enjoyed our discussion. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.